Hello everybody, welcome back. Hey, that other video, some things just kind of get under my skin a little bit, and that was one of those things. Obviously, a couple of the comments got deleted, so that's good because there is a lot of negativity, but that's okay. Like I've said in the other videos, I welcome any feedback. The problem is sometimes the devil's very clever at how he sneaks in. And like I went back and posted on the one because she refuses to comment. And the other ones, she just kind of told me to know scripture, know what I'm talking about. Pretty much she was calling me out, saying that I pretty much was coming against her people. Well, how are they your people? So everybody belongs to you. I mean, I've always wondered why even these pro athletes say my team and this and that. No, you're part of a team. A part of a team means everybody together. The same thing as I've always said about these videos, God, Jesus, and us, because, we're all in this together. There isn't, I'm just giving my testimonies and experiences on things. And again, everything I speak of is backed up by the Bible. So that being said, the journeys are up and down, and it just happened to be one of those days that the devil got in, but I had to pretty much sweep the rug clean again. And I'm human. But either way, glad you guys are liking the videos, and it's helping people. And it's bringing the light to things, and it's making people really think about their lives. I've always wondered, I've had people say, man, you have pretty much lived everything. Is there anything you haven't lived? I said, I don't know. I said, but I do know this. I never understood why I had to go through what I had to go through. But today, if it's helping people, awesome. Then there's a purpose for it. God always says he gets glory in the end. Well, here's his glory, because here's somebody that's traveled a long, beaten road to have peace today. And, the great thing is we get to come on here and talk with each other and share each other and see where it goes. So, that being said, don't forget this week, I'm going to be doing the Christmas video one about Jesus' birth, what it truly means to me and how I look at his birth. Plus, hold on a second. I don't know if I'm going to get to the Rise of Darkness one or not. I hopefully can get to the 3 days of Jesus in the tomb. I might take the 3 days of Jesus in the tomb and put that in with the Christmas birth one. And what I'm going to start on right now is the heaven videos. There's many times that I've been to heaven, and I still go today. I go in prayer, the same as in hell. I'm able to touch stuff, trees. I'm able to move around up there, touch animals. I know some people say there's no animals in heaven. Yeah, there is. On the garden side, there's plenty of animals. When you first enter in there, the gates are open. There's 4 different sets of gates, and I've never seen any of them where they were locked like hell. There's four separate different gates in hell too. I've seen them, been through them, and I know that they're there and they exist. People, what I just want to touch on real quick is because of some of the other comments. Just because you're watching other videos. And just because someone makes a book, and just because someone's going in all these different places and they are making money off of what they're saying. Even though if they're going to churches and all these things, they are making money because the churches are taking offers and stuff for them. You got to understand. I'm not saying the person's wrong. I'm not saying anything like that at all. But what I'm saying is, just because they speak something doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean that someone else is wrong. So, there's plenty of people that's seen stuff in heaven I have never seen. But I also said you got to balance it out, because there is a pathway that you take that as you come into the main parts of heaven, off of the gates, I call it like a little holding area off to the side where you can, like, once you transform through there, and I actually drew a picture of the wash area the best as I could. I'm not a real good artist, but the best I could. So when I go home this week, I'm gonna dig through the tablets and stuff and pull out that picture so you can get a basic idea of what I'm talking about. Through this, in this area and stuff, and I call it like a processing center, because as people entered in, as they're called through, they go into this wash area. I see angels bringing in these bottles and stuff, and they're being dumped into this water. Well, this water then flows out through the back and through this stream. Well, I'll get to the stream in a minute. But in the meantime, there's another bottle of stuff, waters, things being added into it too. And I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, why, what is this? And he goes, these are the tears that people have cried, and these are the tears I've cried with them. So, whether good or bad, we got to understand how we hurt Jesus and what it does. There's always a consequence to everything we do, whether we see it or not. You never know when you're going to hurt somebody by, saying a word or an action or a comment. Well, I guess comment's the same as saying a word, but so keep that in mind. Someone may be a thick-skinned person and just take it all in. Back in the day, I was that person. The longer I've been letting the Lord mold and sculpt me, my feelings seem to be more up front, because the very thing that happened a while, yesterday, I would have never let it get to me. I would have care left. I would have just let him speak whatever and just turn around and walked away. I'm usually pretty patient, and I'm usually pretty calm about things these days. But I'm still a work in progress, per se. So that being said, as you get through all that, you're washed. You are clothed in a nice white robe. It's like a pullover, kind of like this. But my thing is someone asked me a while back how to describe the colors, and I said I can't. All I know is if you take like a neon color and these pastel colors, and you take a bright light and kind of twist it all together, you probably still wouldn't even be close. I have looked at people, I've tried to mix paints together trying to get it. I can't. The only thing I could say that I've seen close to it is Akiana, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's painted some pictures of the flowers and gardens and stuff like that, and her colors are pretty close, but it's still not, it's about as close as I think that you're going to get. But you're renamed, and you're pretty much good to go into heaven. But through this, here's the awesome part. We don't have to put up with what we put up with down here. You're going to know me, I'm going to know you, you're going to know everybody, and you're going to know everything about everybody. It's going to be like you knew them all your life. There is communication sometimes just through the mind. You can walk by somebody, you can be walking next to them, and you could be talking, and it's like mind to mind type, stuff. And then there's times when you'll physically talk like I'm talking right now. It's kind of cool in a way, because you really don't even realize that if you're talking or not. I've been in many different rooms in heaven. I went in one room and I asked the Lord. I said, "What is all these boxes and these presents per se?" And He said, "These are all the things that the Father had in store for you. These are all the things that you never asked for. These are the things that you could have had, but you didn't stay true. Basically, sin." And so I've lost a lot of stuff over the years, and that's what I said in that one video. Can you imagine what your life would have been like if you would have followed them from the beginning? Again, I wish I had somebody in my life. I wish I had YouTube back then. Would I be where I'm at? I don't know. Do I regret? No. And you may say, well, why not? Because I just don't. I can't change an event, because if I change an event, would I be where I'm at today? Would I have made it this far? I don't know. Because back then I was really angered and hate and just bitter, and just, that's a bad combination. So, as you're walking, I don't know if they're so-called streets or walkways or whatever, but you call them whatever you want. Some of them are pretty wide, some of them are pretty narrow. But the best way I can describe it, if you take a plexiglass box and dump honey and then mix it with the sun, that's kind of what it reminds me of. Not really so much a gold bar as people would say, the street lined with gold bars, but it maybe it is pure gold dumped in there. I don't know. I never really asked. When you're in heaven, people always, why didn't you ask this? Why don't you do this? When I get to heaven, I'm asking this. No, you won't. No, you won't. Trust me, because you're already going to know. Every question you will have an answer for, and you won't even have to ask. You're going to know everything you need to know about everything in heaven. And that's what's cool about it. Because you're not when you're washed, you're not going to be thinking earthly anymore. You're going to be thinking heavenly. The time doesn't exist. You're not going to be checking a clock. You're not going to be going, well, I got to be here, there. No, it doesn't work that way. But as you keep moving, there's a beautiful fountain. And I've seen buildings, and I've walked through passageways underneath of it, kind of like I don't know, they're like white pillar type things, and they kind of got like an arch, and it's like a walkway. You walk through it, and it just goes, and it kind of wraps around to the different parts of the buildings and stuff, and it's very beautiful. I mean, it honestly is. It's kind of like a white marble type thing, but again, I'm not even going to try to butcher the colors up there, because it's almost impossible. Like, white is beyond white. I mean, the color of the sky is like different. I mean, it's like, can't even describe this. It's like it's just too hard to describe the colors. I would say there was a movie with Robin Williams in it, What Dreams May Come. There's a certain part of that movie where the colors are kind of close. If I ever had to pick out a movie for the colors, that would be close. But difference is, Robin Williams isn't talking about heaven in that. He's talking about hell and them colors and stuff like that. But what he went through the movie is basically hell, not heaven. And that's why it explains why things look like it's melting and stuff like that. Very, very upside down movie, I could say. it took me a little bit to even try to figure out that movie, what was going on. But as you go around the fountain, there's different pathways and different walkways, and you can go different parts of heaven. There's a one that goes down, and there's like these kind of like a meadow type thing, and the pathway goes off, and it's comes up to this gazebo type thing, and there's water flowing down, past it. And if you keep walking, sometimes I'll go around the gazebo, sometimes I'll go through the gazebo, because I'm so excited to, if you watch the one video on the other channel, I don't know, it might be on this channel, but when I had to make the new one, it's called Darlene and Georgie. And that's what I've said in the videos and stuff about showing you Georgie. So being that this one's back up, I'll have to reintroduce Georgie to this channel. And no, I haven't been putting any more videos on the other one. I think there's only like 4 or 5 videos on that other one. And most of them talking about if anybody, because they wouldn't let me comment, and wouldn't let me do anything. So, and that's what a lot of it was. If anybody stumbles across it, go back and leave comments telling people to go to the new channel. Well, it finally got resolved and everything here, and here I am back on here. But, so when you're walking through this, off to the sides is like the greenest of greenest grass. Just beyond what you have ever seen. There's flowers and stuff in there. When if you walk through and you put your hands across the, across the top of the flower stuff, these butterflies will just fly up and just fly all around you. You literally can put your hands out, they'll walk on your hands and stuff. It's the coolest thing ever. If you keep going through there, now there's a section back there where the mountains and stuff comes down, and there's like a waterfall that flows down. There's a waterfall that flows down to the one side and over on the other side. Now, I can go through the back part of that waterfall, and that's where I've been into the room where there's, I call it the meeting room. There's a long table in there, and I've seen them discussing, like, Abram, Moses, David. They're in there talking about events, and it's different, and it's there's like so much that goes on that you just you get taken back by it. But inside, coming out of that waterfall area, like I can go through there and I can go to different parts of heaven also. Where I see the buildings, and I can also climb up top the waterfall, and I can look up all the way across and look down and look there. I've sat up on top of this cliff. There's like a little cliff set off spot where I can crawl down and sit. I've sat with the Lord many times and prayed there and talked with him, and I'm in flesh. When I'm in flesh, I'm not in that spiritual realm. I don't have that spiritual thinking. I still have the earthly thinking and questions I ask. The weird thing is, when you hear, why don't you ask him to heal you? Why don't you ask him to, fix things on you or whatever? Because it doesn't cross my mind. I'm too busy asking about other things and asking for other people and praying for other things. And, I'm just grateful I'm able to get up and move. I'm grateful that I have a job, and I'm grateful that I'm loved by Jesus. I mean, the reason why we live is to honor him, support him. I got Darlene that has stuck by me through some very difficult times when people, even family and stuff, has turned against me. And, it's, as I've I've said in some of these videos and stuff, you know, it's incredible. It's incredible to have such support from people that don't even really know me. And, you know, I really do appreciate it. But anyways, let's get back in this video. So down in the garden area, there's a big tree. And it's basically, I call it the tree of life. And there's a swing on it. There's animals down inside the water and stuff. And Georgie, which I'll show you earthly and I'll show you heavenly. Heavenly, he's real. I mean, it's exactly what I see there. It's how I see him down here. I can't see the difference in it. I mean, honestly, people, if my house was on fire and he was in there, there wouldn't be anybody that would stop me from going in there. That's how real he is to me, even from a child. Even though he's a different one, but the color and everything's different. The only difference is the one I had as a child, his banana was different. And up in heaven, he's the actual real thing. I mean, I literally can pick him up. I literally can just put him up on my shoulders. He'll wrap his arms around me and stuff. And I know a lot of this sounds bizarre and it sounds like out there. I too at once was like, am I really truly seeing what I'm seeing? I literally have touched lions. I've literally, you know, there's elephants and stuff there. I've literally sat up on top of an elephant. I touched giraffe, which Georgia calls him the long neck. Still giraffe. But, yeah, excuse me. Jesus isn't like what I expected. It wasn't like the pictures that I've seen him with the real long hair. And I remember back in the day, I used to have hair that went all the way down past my waist. And I remember people saying, making fun of me, calling me that. And I said, okay, well, Jesus had long hair. Jesus' hair, I would say, probably comes right about down to his neck area. But it's kind of wavy, kind of curly. Long, stretched out nose. Kind of about as long as mine, maybe. Real thin. Again, Akiana, the one, I don't know if you ever seen Heaven's for Real with the Colton character. Well, I shouldn't say character because he's actually Colton in the movie and Colton in real life. But my goodness. But I kept trying to explain him to Darlene. I kept trying to explain him, and I said he looks a little bit younger than that, than the picture that how she drew him. I said he looks a little bit younger than that. So she was a couple days ago. She was going through the pictures and stuff that she drew, and she showed me a picture. She was going through there, and I said, "That's it. That's exactly how I see him." And I would put him about, in that particular picture, I'd put him about between 31, 33, somewhere in there. I wouldn't go under 30 years old. And, you know, one thing about sitting with him is the peace, the calmness, the subtle voice and how he talks to you. And he's always willing to have that conversation. It's not a one-sided conversation. You think you would just sit there and talk, let him talk and talk and talk and talk, but it's not like that. He doesn't want. He wants to hear you. He wants you to confess things, even though he knows what your sins are and what you've done. you know, he still wants you. He still wants to hear it. You know, he wants to have that interaction with you on a daily basis. As like everything that happens in heaven, hell duplicates it. You know, the sad part about hell is, other than the torturing and everything that comes along with it, is the worst feeling is in hell the fact that you can't leave. Now in heaven, you don't even think about leaving. But the more out-of-body experiences I have, the more that I go to heaven, it gets harder and harder. I mean, I literally cry at times when I come back to earth. I'm in tears because I don't want to be here. You know, I even asked the Lord. I said, Lord, do I really have to go back? And he says, yes. And I said, how much longer? And he always tells me soon. But one thing about Jesus is he does laugh with you. I mean, he interacts with you. He, you know, kind of joking about things at times, and just like a regular person, people. I mean, to get to know him, you have to pray. It's gonna take time now. You know, I heard people say, I asked for this in a dream, and I asked for this. If I don't get it, then I'm not getting rid of some of my stuff that you're mentioning is no good. Like I sent back to him, well then don't. You know, sometimes you got to show the walk in faith. Sometimes you just got to do it, and you know, pray on it. You know, what does your inner self per se tell you? Does it tell you to keep it? Does it tell you to get rid of it? You know, myself, it was a no-brainer. You know, if it had anything to do with the devil, I got rid of it. If it had anything to do with his music, I got rid of it. I wasn't taking no chances. You know, the one time, like I said, when I went back to hell, I went with Jesus. He walked me back through it. I didn't want to go. I pleaded with him, and all he told me was not to worry. He was in control. He would protect me back through it. That's when I finally got to see that spot that I talk about, that light, per se. And I know people says there's different levels in hell. I don't know. I just know that where I've been in there, I've seen holding areas and stuff. I've seen stuff that look like cells. Like prison cells. I've seen torture chambers in there. And I know this is about heaven, but I just want to kind of fill you in on this. But I can look outwards. When you're looking outwards, you got to understand the new kingdom is still in heaven. Jesus hasn't lowered this down yet. So if he hasn't lowered it down yet, you still got to look upwards. And that's why I said, when you get to that light part in hell, you're looking upwards. But when Jesus told me, when he took me there and told me, he says, now look downwards. And I looked straight across, and hell kind of wrapped around it. And there's different areas in there where people that, depending on your sins, you may not surface all the way through hell. You might just be stuck in a couple different areas. And it's almost like waiting in a doctor's, waiting room. You'll have stuff happen to you there, and then they'll take you off and take you to another part, and then you're going to be tortured, whatever sin that was. I hate to tell you, but that's what it is. Some of the sounds and stuff in there, terrifying. I was telling Darlene today, I said, she was telling me about somebody's testimony about hearing a clock or something. You know, there is something that I never spoke about hell. There is a clock there. Kind of looks like, kind of reminds me of like an old grandfather style clock, and I never seen the hands move, because again, there's no time in hell and there's no time in heaven, but it just tick, 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 and it's so loud and so piercing. It just drives you, like, you just want to rip your head off. You know, I've seen people try to kill themselves in hell. Again, I've had people come against me on some of the videos and say, there's no blood in hell. There's no water in hell. Why are you talking about it? I said, well, actually, I know there's no water in hell. When I gave the Bible scriptures, it said he wanted Lazarus to dip his finger and give him a drop on his tongue. That's how hot it is. Through the different times of going back and forth from heaven to earth, speaking with Jesus. I mean, I've spoke with Paul. I spoke with John. I spoke with David, King David. Only a couple times with him. A lot of times with Paul. And I write this stuff down. I mean, like I said, I got tablets and tablets and tablets of stuff that I wrote over the years, and just it's amazing how much of that stuff has come true, and stuff that's unfolding now that I'm going back and looking at these tablets going, all this stuff is taking place. Some of it took a couple years for it to happen. There was some stuff that I wrote down, even the experiences and stuff the Lord told me in heaven. Some of it took 4 to 5 years before it actually came true. And that's why, unless he gives me a date or a time, I don't speak about it. I mean, I don't speak about the timing. You know, I gave a great timing video on God's time. He's given me plenty of videos plenty of stuff that I'm going to be putting on videos that it's just intense about the coming of things and what's taking place. But you got to look at it and go, I've never seen anybody cry in heaven, but I did in hell. I've never seen anybody want to leave heaven, but I have hell. You're around people that you've never known, but you know. And that's the weirdest thing about it. Again, you know, I've been in where the throne room is, per se. That's pretty much what I call it. I walked by where the angels stand and just sang different. One group of angels will sing praise. One group of angels will sing hallelujah, and the other group of angels, as you're coming through, are saying glory, and they're constantly, every time some good deed's going on, they're constantly yelling that particular word, what they sang, and it's in perfect harmony. I mean, it's just so beautiful to hear their voices, and the purity of all of it. I have touched an angel's wings. Again, everything I'm telling you, I've had so many people come against me and say that I'm false. This is fake. I should be ashamed of myself. And what I'm telling you right now, I was in a church when people told me this. I said, you simply cannot believe the very simple things that I've said, just like Jesus said. How much more is it for someone that hasn't seen me but yet believe in me than someone have seen me but yet not believe him? You know, it's just amazing. I don't know why Jesus has chose me to do the things I'm able to do, but it's been an incredible journey, I can tell you that. But have seen family members. I got to see my grandmother, and that's kind of where my life fell apart after she passed away, and I become very angry with God at that time, because really that's about the only love I've ever felt in my life. You know, you go through different phases of life, and what you carry through, sometimes it's hard to let go of things. The water that flows through heaven is almost like see-through. I mean, like, it's so cold as it runs through your hands. I mean, I've literally let fish run across my hands. I've actually picked fish up. The way that God intended the garden and the animals, the interaction with them. See, animals become fearful because of hunting and everything else. You may say, well, prove it. Okay, well, I will prove it. Do you really think that all these animals got on the boat, on the ark with Noah, and they didn't attack him? He took 2 of every kind of animals. I've heard some pastors say that really Noah would have had to take 4. I said, no, the Bible doesn't say that. He says, well, they would have had to take 4 in case one of the females died or one of the males died. I said, but still, you can't say that because the Bible doesn't speak of that. It said 2 of every kind of animal. You ever hear the story where it says, why isn't there unicorns? Because the unicorns were off playing, the same as everybody else. You know, so there is animals in heaven. You know, you're going to see people that, you will meet people that you never met before, but people that's prayed for you. And again, you're going to know them, they're going to know you. And there's not even going to be a need for an introduction. You're just going to know them. There's off of the throne room, and this is where I get kind of, because I've heard people talk about falling into hell. I know in judgment now, if you was to pass away, you would go in front of the throne room. And as you go into the throne room, you plead your case. And anything you haven't repented of, you know, it's a little too late then, you know, because your destiny's already made out for you. I've seen judgment, people coming in there into the throne room and being judged accordingly to their lives and all the stuff that they have done. And I've seen a pastor and his wife was in a car accident, obviously passed away, and Jesus spoke to the lady first and asked her questions. She answered the questions. Then he asked Gabriel, is the name there? She flips to the book. Yes. That's the same thing about the husband. No. Well, he wasn't very happy. Jesus gave him an opportunity to plead his case. Not that it changed, because Jesus told the angels to bind him and he got tossed into hell. So, is that what they're seeing? This tunnel that's being fallen into the different levels? Because when I looked downwards, it did look like stages, but it looks more like kind of like a tornado-ish type funnel thing. But again, that's only until the rapture comes. Then there will be no more of that, because anybody that's left here, they're going to have to finally prove love to the Father in obedience, and they'll lose their head. That's going to be the only way that they're going to receive heaven. But there's not going to be too many people. They're going to take that mark of the beast because they're going to be fearful, because they're not eating, or they're not going to be able to trade. They're not going to be able to do whatever it is that without the mark of the beast. So, heaven, you can just, there's some pastures per se, I guess it's probably the better word to say. You could just run through it, and just the feeling of the grass and everything under your feet. It's like you can run through there for hours and hours and hours and never get tired. You're not looking to see what you're running on top of. You're just running in circles. You're just running, and it's just amazing. It's amazing, the interaction with the animals and the interactions with the people also. There's all different age groups in heaven. I've seen toddlers, I've seen infants, I've seen old people, I've seen young people. I would gather, for the most part, I would say you probably most likely get restored to the age where you were the happiest. I've testified on this. When the water stream comes through the garden and stuff, it comes from the washroom, it pretty much just cycles its way back up and around, because I gather everybody's tears gets mixed into this wash area and into the stream as it flows out, and the new person comes in. All their tears and stuff from the Lord's tears is mixed, and when they're done, that stuff also flows into the stream. So it's kind of amazing. You just kind of look at it and go, it's sad how much tears that some people have actually cried in the pain they've been through. But in the long run, you gotta understand you're not alone, because Jesus is right there with you. I touched on there is separate rooms that you go to, like where the throne room and stuff is, but you can watch the angels. Like, I call the one a prayer room. It's like a prayer receiving room. All these prayers come through there. As of right now, the Father's here on earth. Jesus is up there reigning in the throne room and getting ready to come get his people. I've watched angels line up, these warrior angels per se, and when they're called out to go, they go. They come back to earth. I'm not quite sure what they do. I've never really asked. Never really had a desire to ask, because at the time, whether, I only remember what Jesus gets me back, to remember coming back. A lot of our conversations, I write it down, and I go back and I look at it many times and just breathe on it and take it in, and just to be able to look at what he's spoken. You also look at, I'm right-handed. I've written stuff with left-handed. I've written stuff with my eyes closed. I have spoken in languages that people that I don't speak. I've been told that some people hear Chinese. Some people's heard I wouldn't say a tie-in. I don't know. Anyways, just different languages. I don't know. You know, when I'm in that spiritual area, I don't hear it. I don't see it. I don't see the world. I'm in the kingdom, and you know, I've woken up out of these out of body experiences, in body experiences. You know, because everything that goes on, I feel it, and the pain and suffering. You know, you go to. I guess the better way to put it is I get to see Jesus in a way that we don't ever really get to hear about in books or movies about him or anything like that. You know, he's very connected with you in more ways than one, you know. And he's, every time I've been around him up in heaven, he's always, you know, when he approaches you, he gives you a hug, he smiles with you. It makes it difficult on people. It really does. You know, it makes it really difficult to go through and look at him and knowing the sins that personally myself has done, that he's taken to the cross and on the grave. You know, all the stripes that he's wore on his back and his front is because of most of the sins that I have committed. And he doesn't hold it against me, nor will he you. You know, once we repent, it's written and it's taken away from us. The devil's the one that holds it, and the devil wants it to keep it attached to you. Well, once you're forgiven, I recommend you just let it go, because God sure is not going to be I don't know what in the world they're doing, but God doesn't hold it. I go back into my memory bank, per se, pull open the file cabinets for moments like this, you know, and I'm pausing a lot in this because I'm just listening to the Lord tell me, comment on this right now, speak on this right now, don't speak on this yet. And he's in control. I've always said it. You know, he's in control of these videos. He's in control of what he wants and how he wants it. How do I do it? Well, back when I used to train, after a fight, I would go and sometimes get an ice bath, sometimes just sit in the hot water and soak. I'd put on Mozart, of all things, Mozart, and I would meditate on it. There's different meditations now. You got a satanic meditation. You got, I don't know, the monks meditate, but I'm not really for sure how that feeds into which, I don't know. Let's not even go there. And then you got the meditation with Jesus, which is that you clear your mind. And that's one thing I've learned in training and stuff. You clear your mind. And I guess that's why I'm able to do what I do quickly. Because remember when I spoke in them videos, right, you know, a while back about the Matrix type thing? It's kind of what this is. I mean, time just stops. There was another movie, Clock Stoppers, I think it was called. It was a kind of a kiddish type movie, but reality is what happens. You can see things not moving, but it is moving. The it's just moving so slow that it looks like it's never moving, but it truly is still moving. And that's how heaven is. When you get to heaven, spend a little time in that waiting area, per se, I guess, and just because you're talking without the heaven experience, I guess, yet. And it's like once you go through that gate, everything changes. Your mindset, everything changes, and the world's ways no longer exist. What you have done no longer exists. Is there servants in heaven? Yes. And some of these servants are people that have made it, but they may have owned a business, they may have done wrong to people, but they still earn their way into heaven. But their job now is to redeem and serve you, which it just makes you really want to go. I'm going to look at my life a lot more and change. I don't want to be a servant in heaven. I want to be able to move around and do and go as I do now. But you got to learn to clear your mind. You got to learn to go into a place that is not distracting, or there's nothing coming in. Kind of like if you watch the movie War Room, when she goes in the closet, she cleans everything out, and then she's sitting in there with a bag of chips, and it just seems ridiculous, nothing's happening, but then she really starts pushing in. Well, the more you push in, the more Jesus is going to push in with you. And it'll get to the point where you're just pretty much, it used to take me a while. Now, I can just close my eyes and I can go just like that. And, but I could as a child too, if I was getting beat or something like that, I could go to them areas in there. I never knew as a child what I was seeing, but I do remember running through parts of the areas and stuff and seeing the butterflies fly up and around, which I thought, when I was a kid, I thought that was the most beautiful thing ever, to watch the butterflies land on you, and some of them would crawl on you, and it would tickle you. And kind of like when in the garden, you'll be running around the tree or something, and all of a sudden there's Jesus, and he's kind of like interacting with you and moving around, laughing with you. It's the most precious moments, and it's difficult. That's why I say be careful what you ask for, because some things are unbreakable, and some things are beyond what you can control, that the devil uses. He'll use it. I remember there was a time, I'm not even going to go in there. I'm just going to kind of skip that part. If I could take anything back in my life, I would take back all the things that I tried to do to myself. Because the Lord, one time I asked him, I said, Lord, will you show me your crucifixion? And everything you went through, from being arrested and people. And let me tell you, when he took me and showed me when he was strapped down to this, you ever see the Western movies, kind of like, it's got that I call it like a telephone pole piece, and it comes down, and it's got two pieces going down, and that thing's on top. Well, they strapped him, and literally beat him and beat him and beat him. I've never seen so much blood come out of one person ever in my life. I've never seen a body swell the way his body swelled, and just continue to beat him and beat him and beat him. In a split moment, I got really sick. I went to turn around, and I couldn't watch anymore. And he says, "Oh no, you must finish. You wanted to see it, so here it is." And then I had to carry not just the cross beam, but the whole entire cross. He ended up getting help, but he took the nails. And none of us could do what he's done. And he's done it, and he would have done it just for you if he had to. Just for me if he had to. But I was too busy holding the whips. That's what sin is. Everything you've sinned and everything you've done, you have struck Jesus and brought blood from him. But he took it. Never cursed you. Never thought against you. He took it. Every bit of it. I don't know. I think I'm just going to kind of let you kind of meditate on this a little bit, and if you have any questions or anything that I've talked about or want to know a little bit more in detail on something, let me know. You know, it is difficult, people. You know, I know some people, yeah, I am joy over it. But it is hard because I want to be there right now. You know, I struggle some days. I used to never want to leave this earth. Now I never want to come back to it. And it's hard. It really is hard. It's really difficult to live here every day. And so much hate, and so much anger, and so much pridefulness. Well, geez, I just named everything the devil's good at. But I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I get to meet all you. Not in person per se, but you know, I'm getting to know you through these comments and through what you want to see. And so far, everything everybody's asked, I mean, I've lived some part of it, one way or another. So keep the comments coming. I probably will put on the pretty much everything I've talked about on this part of heaven. I pretty much touched on. You will have rewards in heaven. Depends on you, per se. You'll have different rewards than somebody else because of what you've done compared to they done. It's comparing apples to apples, you know, at that point. But you're not going to be jealous. You're not going to know if someone has, say, your neighbor when I got a new car, you'd know it because you see it. Well, you're not going to understand that stuff in heaven. You know, there is going to be no jealousy. There is going to be no pridefulness. There isn't going to be what's that word I'm looking for? Competitive type stuff. None of that exists. And it's so nice to be able to everybody be on the same playing field, per se. So, again, let me know what you think. I don't have no problems touching on other things. And let me know what you think. Heavenly Father, we thank you. And Father, I just lift up this part of the video, and hopefully I described it the best I possibly can, describe it. It's a very difficult times. It's very difficult to be able to come to earth and witness what I witnessed, and witness what I witnessed there, and witness in hell, and how much the devil twists the stuff around, pretty much out of mockery, copying, pridefulness. I can go down the list. But Lord, you are our Father. You protect us, you watch over us, and you keep your sheep clean. So help us today, Father. Help us be able to have discernment, and most of all, be able to be found worthy to enter into heaven. But Father, we just continue to lift this day up to you in this each and every one of our bodies. We just ask for sight to be seen, the understanding, and most of all, who you are in our lives. We thank you for that. We thank you for being a part of our lives. We thank you for wanting to be a part of our lives, even though we kind of shun you off at times. But Lord, I know I ask for forgiveness, and I almost guarantee most of you are probably asking right now. But I ask that you watch over the people. I ask for protection over them. I ask for favor over them. I ask for healing over them. I ask for financial blessings in their lives. I ask for calm to be poured over top of them. I ask for wisdom to be poured out into them, discernment poured out into them. I ask for removal of anything that is not clean or pleasant in their life, whether it's people, whether it's family, whether whatever that takes place. Let it be removed if it's not of you. But most of all, let them come with a receiving heart to receive you. I ask for any ungodly things through this be removed from them. And let them, Lord, live a prosperous life. And let them live a glorious life. And let it all be done under your name. Lord, I love you. I thank you. I thank you all. Comment if you want to know a little bit more on something else. Or if not, then I'm probably going to start on these other ones and move on from there. God bless you. Be safe. Till the next one.